Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. One of the most common questions I get asked is, why are the pros so good? How do I become a pro? You know, what can I do to become a better angler? And the reality is, the pros are flat out dang good. Like, the level of talent right now in the fishing world is unbelievable. And you know, a pro means a lot of different things, but today we're just strictly sticking to the fishing aspect of it. And it's pretty wild when you really evaluate like what pro anglers do versus what the average angler does. What makes the pros so much better? And I know I think a lot of anglers don't recognize it, especially if you're not doing it and you're not familiar with it. And the number one reason that the pros are just better is it comes down to experience. I mean, like, flat out, the time on the water is just untouchable. Like, you cannot replace that time on the water, because every little thing that you do, you store in your database of your brain. And down the road at some point, your brain will recognize something and tell you to do something just based on the experience that you've built up. So that's just critical to understand, that the experience is absolutely the key, and that experience is garnered by being on the water. So when you look at the amount of time that the majority of pros spend compared to, you know, the average angler, it's not even close. I mean, we have more time on our motors than most anglers fish in a year. So from that standpoint, I mean, the experience is untouchable. So that's number one. But along with that comes a lot of other variables. So, you know, one is honestly speed of fishing. Like, if you watch pros fish and break down water, the speed that they do it is just untouched. I mean, it's like, I'm fishing right now, I got my trolling motor on high and I feel like I'm breaking down the water even though I'm only making a few casts. So we can go into areas and I just feel like break it down a lot faster than the average angler. Now, a lot of that goes back to experience, but a lot of it is understanding what it is that you're looking for, and fishing targets, and making sure that your cast is in a spot where a fish could live on every cast. So there's far less wasted casts, where you've got one angler might fish through a whole bay to get to another spot, whereas the pros, if they want to fish here and they want to fish there, they're going to fish here and then they're going to go over there. Let me get this bass. I mean, that's just kind of little chunk, little fatty. So what I'm getting at is, you fish the main spots, and in this case, because I caught one there, I'm actually going to make a couple more casts. But don't waste your time fishing stuff that you don't think is going to be productive. You know, I think that's something that a lot of the pros just learn real fast in the tournament fishing world, that you only have so much time to catch the fish. And if you don't catch the fish, you don't want to waste your time not catching fish on stuff that you're not even confident fishing, right? So from that standpoint, you just cover more water. Cover more water and keep your bait in areas where you know that the fish are going to live. So that's the second thing. The third thing really comes down to casting accuracy and overall fundamentals. Now, this is something that I think you do find a lot of your weekend anglers and a lot of your anglers do have the capability of having the overall fundamentals that a lot of pros have. But having said that, 9 out of 10 casts, the pro will put the bait exactly where he wants it, whether it's flipping a lay down tree, whether it's throwing to something you see on your forward facing sonar. The skill level is very, very high when it comes to that, you know, and that's, again, a lot of it just goes back to the experience, but you better be able to make the cast. If you can't make the cast, that's one thing that you can practice without even being on the water and become a better angler from that standpoint. So, you know, be better at casting. If you can do that, if you can do that, you're going to be putting your bait where you want it, not wasting cast. Another thing that a lot of pros do, and this is something that I know I lack, and this is me specifically just being hard-headed and wanting to do it all on my own. But there is a huge ability to network. And by network, I'm not necessarily talking about just getting, I'm not talking about, ooh, that's a strong little fish. By networking, I'm not talking about just doing the, like getting spots from people, because that is part of networking, but that's not just networking. Like, networking is really about understanding what's going on in areas and how people are catching fish. And this is one thing I'm so jealous of a lot of the guys that have been able to partake in college fishing, because I'm too old for college fishing. I missed it by a couple of years. But it's, you go to college, you meet all these people, you go fish tournaments, you meet all these other kids from other schools, and next thing you know, you've got connections and friends and contacts that live around the country. So if there's a hot bait in one part of the country, you find out about it a lot faster than a lot of other anglers will, because you have that network, you have that group of people that you can call and talk to. And, you know, whether that relates to actually getting spots and waypoints, I mean, maybe in a lot of cases it does, but in a lot of cases it's just having that understanding of what's going on, you know, how guys catch them in the blueback herring lakes, you know, the type of cover and stuff to look for. They can call somebody and have somebody help them break it down pretty quick. I've always ignored that. I've always wanted to do it on my own, which has really been a hindrance to a lot of tournaments in my career. You know, I do feel like at this point, once you have the experience, this is my 15th year traveling the country. Once you have the experience and you fish most of these types of bodies of water, you develop that own, you know, that a lot of that knowledge on your own. But if you're going to lakes for the first time and you don't know what you're getting into, to have that networking ability is just really critical, in my opinion. And then the last thing has to do with just your overall understanding of the environment. So, you know, whether that's bass movements, bass habitat, you know, so for example, like movements, yes, everyone always talks about movements. So yes, you want to understand the cycle of where do bass go, you know, each species go when it's fall, into winter, into spring, into pre-spawn and all that. So that we hear that all the time. And I do think the pros have a great understanding of what they're looking for based on each season. Now, I think it goes a lot deeper than that. So, you know, if you're talking about forage, most pros have a very good understanding of overall forage. So shad, bluegill movements, perch movements, you know, crayfish movements. And if you understand the forage, that helps put you in places where the bass are going to be. So that's critical. You know, it's also all the different grass, you know, it's the most successful pros have understand all of this, you know, the different types of grass. You know, they can tell you what's milfoil, coontail, pondweed, you know, eelgrass, you name it, and they can tell you roughly where they grow and how they grow. And those little things help you. You know, some grass, in my opinion, is not the grass you're looking for. So if you understand what that grass looks like and where it grows, then you can move away from it. If you're looking for milfoil, then from that standpoint, you can go look for milfoil. And if you understand milfoil grows in more of a hard bottom area, then that's going to help you locate bass. I mean, there's a lot of things there. And, you know, a lot of anglers like myself have an education in some form of fisheries. You know, I didn't graduate with a limnology degree, but I started and spent almost 3 years of my college dealing with freshwater marine biology classes. So I learned a ton during that time, and I feel like there's a lot of pro anglers out there that have some sort of fisheries background. And it's just that having that understanding, that knowledge of the surroundings is really critical, and something that I think so many weekend anglers just take for granted, oh yeah, they're eating bluegill. Well, you know where to find the bluegill then? If that's something that you're looking for, you know, there's just a lot of that. So when you compile those 5 things together, it's just a ton of information. And if you can execute on them all, you're probably going to be catching a lot more fish. And to me, those are the 5 things that just honestly make the pros better than the average angler. You know, and it's something nobody wants to hear, that they're not as good as somebody else. But the reality is the top level anglers are just like NFL players. NFL players have put in the time and work to be where they're at. And, you know, you don't see people working a day job and then going, you know, and playing the NFL. Like, it's too much time and effort. And there's a lot more that goes into it. And that's just the fishing side. I mean, you start talking about the sponsor side and the marketing side, that's a whole nother animal. But like I said, this is a question I get asked all the time. So hopefully that helps provide a little bit of clarification. If you're looking to become a pro angler, you're a young angler, these are things that I think you really should pay some attention to. So, yeah, hopefully that helps some of you guys out. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to fishing. I appreciate you all joining in. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow.